Hello, and welcome to This Grand Life, where we inspire, celebrate, and empower people to live their very best lives. Thank you for joining us today. I am Julie Ulstrup, and I am the photographer and your hostess of the show for This Grand Life. Today, what I want to talk about is one more of my whys. The photograph, actually not the photograph, but the painting that you just saw is of my grandmother. If you've been to my studio, you've seen it. It is in a prominent place on the wall in my shooting room. And that portrait, I call it her Lady of the Manor portrait, was in her dining room when I went to visit her when I was growing up. And we would go to town, I remember very specifically, when I was in high school. And my grandmother was old at the time and she walked a little bit funny, and I was, 17 years old, and I was, truth be told, a little bit of a snotty teenager. And people would come up to us, and because it was in Norway, they would speak Norwegian to my grandma, and they would say, "Oh, your granddaughter looks so much like you." I'm going to show you this portrait again. Her hair is braided back, and I used to wear my hair braided that way, and I do look very much like, this is my paternal grandmother. I do look very much like her. And this painting, as I mentioned, was hanging in her dining room, and now it's in my studio. And the reason I want to share this today, I want to share with you another part of the reason that I became a portrait photographer and why I believe that portraits are an incredible gift that we can leave and have with our families. So this portrait of my grandmother, when my grandmother passed, my dad got the portrait, and now it's mine and it's my studio. And my grandmother, I have so many fond memories of her. She always lived in Norway when I was growing up, and I grew up in the States across the big pond, and I have these beautiful, beautiful stories, and I also now have this beautiful Lady of the Manor painting of her that was taken when she was about 35. And of course, now I'm much older than that, and it is truly, truly a gift. One of the things that I didn't realize about the gift of portraits, I love having portraits in my home. I love having family pictures, obviously, and I love creating that for my clients. But I read a study recently. It's the Spark survey taken by the Search Institute, and it talks about the healthiness of our children. The Search Institute has studied hundreds of thousands of children over the years with 20 internal and 20 external assets to help figure out what's going to help make them successful. Of those external assets, things that are outside of them, in the top 5, 3 of them are connected to family, and 3 of those are connected to intergenerational connectedness with each other. And guess what? A portrait is something that can celebrate that. Having a family portrait with multiple generations, grandparents with grandchildren, is truly, truly a gift for now, to help children remember how much their grandparents and parents and ancestors care about them, even if they may not have known them. So it's a huge gift. And again, there's some research around it. There's also research that the AARP, the American Association of Retired People, has done recently that shows that grandparents and older generations, like myself, if they're more connected with their grandchildren, they live healthier, happier, more productive lives. And portraits in your home like this, whether they're on the wall or an album, and the experience of having that. So as I mentioned in the last couple of videos, I've talked a little bit about my why and why I've become a photographer and why I do what I do. This other piece that I've just learned recently really is that it helps my clients. It helps my clients feel more connected to their family. It helps children do better and be more successful. And it helps people who are older, grandparent age people, feel closer and more connected, healthier and more productive. Another thing is family history that I think is really important, and I have been very lucky. Obviously, I have this photograph of my grandmother. And if you've been to my studio, you may have also seen, I'm gonna pop down and pick it up, this portrait that was done of my mom and my grandma. And my mom was probably 2 or 3 years old at the time when this portrait is done. I love this picture. And these are my other grandparents, my other grandmother. And they lived in California and I grew up in Chicago. And every summer I would go visit my grandparents, and my parents would visit as well. And that picture was hanging on the wall in my grandparents' home. And every summer, my grandmother told me the story. Julie, you know that when your mom was 2, we went to have her picture taken. And she cried. She did not want to have a picture taken. Well, as you can tell, well, you can't tell from the picture, but my grandma says, as you can tell, I was not ready to have my picture taken. But I said, Susan, come here, sit on my lap. And this picture is that memory and that story that I now have in my home, that I'm able to share with my children. And I know my children have photographs in their home that they will be able to share with their children. Photographs that were taken of me, photographs that were taken of my parents with them. And now my dad has the opportunity to have photographs taken with his great-grandson. So in that whole story of having portraits on the wall, to me, it is so important. It's such a part of who we are, and it's something that I love and feel strongly about. And now there's some research that shows that we live healthier, happier lives when we're more connected with people, which is not any surprise. And a portrait on the wall when there's a family reunion, when everybody's together, all of those stories help us feel closer and connected. Thank you for joining in today. This is going to be the last time for a little while that you're going to see just my face on here. And what I would love is if you are a subscriber, or if you watch, or if you know somebody who is about inspiring, celebrating, and empowering people, I would love to interview them on the show. I'd love to interview you on the show if that's something you'd like. That's all for this time. Thanks so much for watching. Please feel free to leave a comment below, give it a thumbs up, and subscribe if you'd like to get more updates. Thanks a bunch. Have a great day.